Hello everyone, I'm Diego and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about languages, specifically how difficult it is to learn a language in 2025, because we are surrounded with different tools that we can use. We have apps, we have podcasts, YouTube, films, or simply books. Apps such as Duolingo are really well made for learning a language. They are perfect for beginners, but they lack in some part of the grammar, for example. Duolingo is well known for its gamification, making the learning experience like a game where you have progress, you have streaks, you can have achievements and compete with other people learning all languages around the world. Unfortunately, Duolingo has some problems such as the heart system. Unless you have premium or max, you only have 5 arts. Each mistake removes you 1 art. And I have to say this is something really wrong about Duolingo, for example, but in general, because making mistakes is fundamental when learning something. Whether it's a language, changing a spare tire, it's about mistakes, because mistakes guides you towards the reason why you're doing something wrong and making you go through the right path. But Duolingo gives you 5 every 5 hours. So if you make a mistake, which is something that will happen if you're learning a language, because unless you know already something or unless you already know the language, you will make mistakes and it can be frustrating. You only have a few mistakes that you can do. For example, I've been using Duolingo to learn Ukrainian for almost an entire year. And I have to say I have Max, which is final packet of Duolingo, which allows you to unlock different new part of the app. For example, Duolingo has a paywall, the Max subscription. Behind there is the revise section where you can exercise your listening, your mistakes, you can talk, so you can fix your pronunciation. But again, it's not like Duolingo doesn't offer you this possibility. You can revise exercises based on the unit, but if you want to be even more specific, you can just go onto this section. Unfortunately, Duolingo has a problem I have encountered myself many times, which is the lack of explanation when it comes to grammar. I have no idea sometimes why words are written differently, why there is a new word that changes everything, and Duolingo doesn't tell you. And I find this out when I tried other apps to talk with people in their languages, such as Tandem and HelloTalk, and I've been talking with Ukrainians and they were telling me why. Something that Duolingo wasn't doing. And it made me realize that Duolingo cannot be my only tool, and it shouldn't be yours as well. We said that there are so many different ways to learn a language. So apart from apps, which one should you use? What I found useful, at least in my studies, is that I use notebooks. These notebooks that I have are divided into, at least for how I organize my stuff, in 3 different types, whether it is a vocabulary, grammar one, where I write down examples of the sentences or how to greet someone or stuff like that, and one where I simply exercise, I translate, I do the Duolingo exercises, but trying to go deeper using things. And when I do a mistake, I write on the side like the explanation to why is it like this. The most accessible way we have, I get it, are apps, because here it takes a phone or a PC. Most apps like Modally, Duolingo, LinkU, Drop, Language Transfer, Mesmerize, Flashcards, Enki-Drop. We have so many apps that can help you, and they are free and accessible. If you want more stuff, you have to pay, like for Duolingo, but they do their job. But they're not enough. They're simply not enough. At least for me, it's not, because it's repetitive. After 1 year of Duolingo, it's beginning to be really repetitive, boring, more like completing the unit over actually learning something. So I switched away, but I'm not dropping Duolingo. I am still using Duolingo, but I'm integrating it with something else. I am using books. I have currently 2 books that I'm using to learn Ukrainian as an Italian, so they are translated Italian to Ukrainian and vice versa. And I have to say, these books are fantastic, because most of the times, because of the lack of vocabulary that I have, I can barely make a sentence without using the same 5 words. And every single word I find on this type of books are helping me a lot to learn a new word every day. And for example, the book I have here helps me a lot with the cultural aspect as well, like remembering the region of Ukraine, the capital, historic figures. Remember, at least for me, immersion is something that counts a lot, because whether it's with a podcast, a friend of yours that is from that place that lets you experience their tradition, like Christmas, Easter, it's really important that you have this type of experiences, because it helps you transfer your mind to another language. Because let's take Italian and English. They are fairly similar when it comes to the way you should think to speak without making mistakes. But if you have to go English to Ukrainian, that's really different, because in Ukrainian, for example, many way you say something is different. You have to always change the words, always see the context, like in many other languages, but is apart from another alphabet, is nowhere near English. And so it is most of the other languages you want to learn. For example, if you want to learn French, for example, French, Spain, Italian, German, they're all different languages that have their own grammar section. And the grammar, as I said before, is really important. And you should buy some school-like books at least to start to understand the grammar behind a sentence, a word, because it's important that you realize why a word is written in that way, why this sentence has these dots, these commas. It's really important, because grammar, it's like math. If you learn the theory behind a formula, you can read math problem instead of by memory knowing how it's made. You can think, you can apply logic, and to language it's the same thing. You apply logic to the context of a sentence, and if you do this enough, at least from my experience, you can start to read what you don't know yet. There are many words you will not know, you will stumble across words that you still do not know the meaning of, but because you're applying the logic behind a sentence, you can kind of figure out the context behind it. That's why logic and grammar are connected with, again, a good vocabulary, because knowing a lot of words helps you out a lot. I know I already said this, but I can't stress enough how it's important to diversifying your learning method, because after a while you'll get bored of the same stuff every day. Duolingo for me, after I am 1 year in, but already 6 to 7 months in, I was tired of always using Duolingo, always going for the same connect this, do these exercises, the same way of learning, the same approach was driving me insane. And trust me, because we are all humans, it will do this to you too. It's important that you find the way to sometimes switch to another exercise. For me, what works out is, let's take a day where I don't have to go to school, I don't have to go to work, I can stay home, I can do what I want. I can start in the morning with Duolingo to quickly get back to what I was doing. I can talk with the people I am currently talking on tandem to learn new stuff, to learn the curiosity and languages. I can switch to books. I can go on Anki Droid, which is an app that allows you to remember the words. I have this book that I showed you before that has 50, sorry if you can see it, there are 50 different scenarios that you can stumble across during, I don't know, a walk, a journey, a day in your life. In this video I told you which is the best method for me, how many there are, how you can organize your day by starting with Duolingo, going with Anki cards, having a reading comprehension on a book, writing down and exercising on your notebooks. It's really up to you. This is my journey. I've been telling you my journey, how I have been approaching learning languages, but the reality is that everyone has their own. You have to find what best suits you, what you want to do in the morning, if you feel like doing it overnight, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, so the duration of your lesson, if you should use apps, if you should use the books. The reality is it's really up to you. The only thing you need to have is dedication, discipline and motivation, remembering always why you're doing this, why you're learning a language. Is it for work, relationships? You think it's a cool language, it's a cool culture? For me, example, Ukrainian, I always wanted to learn a Slavic language on another alphabet. Eastern Europe has always been unknown to me, so the culture differentials, traditions and culture from here in Italy, they got me curious, and this curiosity turned into learning the language, and it's a year now. It's almost a year. So at least for me, this was why I learned. And from my experience, it was difficult, because when you start, in my case, I started casually. I was doing one lesson every day on Duolingo just to see the streak goes up. I was doing 2-3 units at the same time, because chapters, sorry, not units. The units are 2. Chapters are different. Because they were easy at the beginning, they were just a bunch of words you were remembering, so it was easier. Then you move over time and it gets more difficult, it changes, it amplify something, it gets bigger, it gets more difficult. And after it starts to be not so much of a walk in the park, that's where you start to really learn a language. You can treat it like the gym, for example, or how you treat those things that you want to do that sometimes you don't want to, but you have to because you started. For example, the gym, like we did an example with math when it comes to logic. Let's take now the gym, because not every day you will feel like going to the gym, but you have to because you are maybe 6, 7, 8 months, 2, 4, 6 years in, and you've made so many progress already. And if you stop, you can drop years or months of progress because you didn't feel like one day. And learning a language is the same thing. Sometimes I don't want to turn on Duolingo, I don't want to open the book, but it's not because I hate the language, because I don't feel like doing it. And it's human. Sometimes we don't want to do something. But as humans, we have to evolve, we have to get smarter, we have to get better for ourselves. So even if you don't feel like doing it, you have to realize that it helps you. Doing one lesson a day, it helps you. It doesn't have to be a game, but it doesn't have to be an agony as well. You have to enjoy what you're doing, and you have to remember that it takes a lot of time. It takes patience to learn a language. You don't have to get influenced by those videos that say that in 1 year, in 1 month, you can learn every single thing in a language because you do something they say. It's really up to you. It's really up to the person you are, because you know yourself. And if you're not, maybe learning a language will even help you figure that out. You can see the pace that you feel like having. You can see where you want to start, what you want to avoid. Maybe you don't like tapping on a screen, maybe you like books better, maybe you even only like to listen that language you like. Maybe you can approach it in a more human way, like you can talk to someone in that language. You can visit the place. Talking about immersion, you can literally just visit the place if you can, and if you have the money and the possibility to, and it would be really incredible. It's really up to you. But the most important thing is that it's a journey that changes you, and you should stick to it. Even though 1 day to 1 week you feel like not going, you should stick to it. Maybe you feel overwhelmed, you take a pause, you slow down, but you never stop. Because the pace is personal and you know your pace. And as always, try to learn as much as possible without stressing yourself out. Because one day it could even turn into a job. Who knows? It's up to you. You got this. Never give up, guys. And that was it. That was everything I had to say to you today. I wanted to share my journey with Ukrainian, with the language that I'm learning, and I haven't visited Ukraine yet, so not being around the place, the people and the culture, even though I am not there, I made significant progress and I really enjoyed making this video, talking about my journey, giving some advice, at least from my point of view, on how you can begin your own journey. And it's something that you should do. I really say that. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for sticking around. I hope I can see you in another video. Дякую, друзі. До побачення.